As Rosh Hashanah approaches, I want to take this moment in the video Dvar Torah to talk about one of the central prayers of Rosh Hashanah, the Unesana Tokef prayer. The prayer translates simply to let us speak of the power of the day. But this prayer has a very interesting background. The prayer is first found in the Or Zarua, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Moshe of Vienna, who lives in the 12th century. And he tells us how he found this prayer. And I'm going to read you the translation of the prayer from the translation that appears in Shai Agnon's Days of Awe. And so says Rabbi Yitzchak of Vienna. I found a manuscript by Rabbi Ephraim ben Yaakov of Bonn, describing how Rabbi Amnon of Mainz came to compose a liturgical poem beginning, and we shall express the powerful sanctity of the day. Unesana Tokef Kedushat Hayom. After a misfortune that happened to him, the manuscript follows. This is the story of what happened to Rabbi Amnon of Mainz, who one of the great men of his generation, and rich, and of a good family, and handsome. The lords and the archbishop began to demand that he convert to their religion, and he refused to listen to them. And it came to pass, after they had spoken to him day after day, and he would not listen to them, though the archbishop himself was urging him, that one day he said to them, I wish to take counsel and to think about this matter for another 3 days. He said this, and so he put them off. And it came to pass, he had left the presence of the archbishop, and he took it to heart that he allowed a word of doubt to leave his lips, as though he needed to take counsel and thought to deny the living God. So he went home, and he would neither eat nor drink, and fell sick. And all his near ones and loved ones came to console him, but he refused to be consoled, for he said, I shall go down to the grave mourning because of what I have said. And he wept, and was sad at heart. And it came to pass on the 3rd day, while he was in pain and anxiety, and the archbishop sent after him, and he said, I shall not go. And his foe continued to send many and ever more distinguished lords, but Rabbi Amnon still refused to go to the archbishop. Then the archbishop said, bring Amnon against his will immediately. And so they hurried and brought him. And he said to him, what is this, Amnon? Why have you not come to reply to me, to do my desire, at the end of the time you set for yourself in which to take counsel? And Amnon answered and said to him, I shall pronounce my own sentence. Let the tongue that spoke and lied to you be cut out. For Rabbi Amnon wished to sanctify God because he had thus spoken. Then the archbishop answered and said, no, the tongue shall not be cut out, for it spoke well. But the feet that did not come to me at the time you set, I shall lop off, and the rest of the body I shall punish. Then the oppressor commanded that they lopped off the fingers of Rabbi Amnon's hands and his feet. And at every finger they asked him, will you be converted, Amnon? And he said, no. And it came to pass, when they had finished lopping off his fingers, and the wicked man ordered Rabbi Amnon to be laid on a shield with all his fingers at his side, and he sent him home. He was rightly called Amnon, the faithful one, for he had faith in the living God and lovingly suffered severe afflictions, simply because of one word he had spoken. After these servants, the days of awe approached, and Rosh Hashanah arrived. Rabbi Amnon asked his relatives to bear him to the house of prayer just as he was, and to lay him down near the reader, and they did so. And it came to pass, when the reader came to recite the Kedusha, the sanctification, that Rabbi Amnon said to him, hold, I shall be sanctified, and sanctify the great name of God. And he cried in a loud voice, Unesana Tokef Kedushat Hayom, and thus may the sanctification ascend to you. That is to say, I've sanctified your name for the sake of your kingship and your unity. And afterwards he said, and we shall express a powerful sanctity of this day. And he said, it is true that you are judge and arbiter, in order to justify the verdict, that those same fingers of his hands and his feet might rise before God, as well as the memory of the entire incident. And he said, and the seal of every man's hand is on it, and you remember the soul of every living thing. For his fate was so decreed on Rosh Hashanah, when he had ended, his own end came and vanished from the earth before the eyes of all, for God had taken him. Of him it is said, oh, how abundant is your kindness, which you have laid up for them that fear you. 3 days after Rabbi Amnon had been called to the academy on high, he appeared to Rabbi Clonimus ben Rabbi Meshulam in a dream of the night and taught him the liturgical poem of the Unesana Tokef, and we shall express the powerful sanctity of the day, and order him to send it to all of the diaspora to be his testimony and remembrance. Rabbi Clonimus did so. The story of Rabbi Amnon is quite curious, because even though we have many records of the city of Mainz, we have a tremendous history of Mainz, there is no record of a Rabbi Amnon in the city of Mainz. In fact, the name Amnon is a very odd choice for a rabbi, because Amnon himself was a very negative figure in the Tanakh. And there are scholars who ask the question, what is this really about? Perhaps it is about the forced conversions of the Crusades. Now, our picture of the Crusades and Crusaders may be like this, sort of the Hollywood version of the Knights Templar. Maybe Sean Connery's voice is ringing in your head. But this is, in fact, not the case at all. This is not the story of the Crusaders. The story of the Crusaders starts at the Council of Clermont. The Council of Clermont the Pope calls for the Crusaders to liberate the Holy Land from the infidel. But the Crusaders are perhaps overly zealous, and they say to themselves, why should we wait until we get to the Holy Land to convert the infidel? There's the infidel in our own backyard. And that infidel was in places like Speyer, Worms, and where Rabbi Amnon is reported to have lived in the city of Mainz. These are all cities along the Rhine Valley in Germany. And these attacks were brutal. The Jews were even being protected by the archbishop in certain cases. And the Crusaders gave the Jews the choice of convert or die. And certainly torture could have been in there, and perhaps this is the origin of the story of Rabbi Amnon. Many, many Jews perished by the sword. Many Jews gave their lives, but there were also many who may have temporarily converted. And the idea that there was enormous guilt on the hands of so many Jews at that time, yet they remained pious and they remained faithful, was an enormous problem at that time. Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, great rabbis of that era, dealt with questions about what about a Kohen who had converted to Christianity and then wanted to return and wanted to deliver the priestly blessing. You can imagine someone who, having taken Mass on Easter and came back to Duchen to give the priestly blessing on Pesach. These were quite challenging things, and Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam insisted that we take these Jews back, and that a Jew who sins is just a Jew who sinned, and we have to allow them to return to our fold. This is the story of Rabbi Amnon. This is the story of the Unesana Tokef. But sometimes in every age there is a different sin, a different challenge. Ours is not having our fingers cut off by the archbishop and being forced to convert, but rather it is a different challenge. It is the challenge of assimilation, of temptation, of material over spiritual pursuit. And we may come to a sense of guilt. And the power of the day is the power of the fact that if you are sincere and you are heartfelt in your repentance, God too can take you back, no matter how far you step away.